So if we're talking about a Canelo victory, most would say Canelo by stoppage, right? Canelo will give Charlo a beatdown, right? Counter him at will and break Charlo down to the body. That would be the most realistic logic. And from what we've seen from most of the training videos Canelo's posted over the last month and a half, demonstrating his head movement like he did in the Danny Jacobs fight, or even the teasers with sparring partners and what is perceived to be him doing what he does best, walking his opponents down in dominant fashion. At first glance, what I noticed aside from the Jacobs blueprint or old seek and destroy Canelo attitude, based on Canelo's body language in sparring, he also looked to be using the Brian Castaño formula. If you watch both Jermell Charlo's fights with Brian Castaño, then you already know he had a lot of success being the aggressor while countering Charlo and pressuring him against the ropes. At the press conference in LA though, when Canelo acknowledged the folks saying he lost a step, he said and continue to follow this up, and not only on All Access but at the grand arrivals this fight week, you will see a different Canelo. We will see something different for this fight. It got me thinking, what did he really mean by different? Was he only referring to the old Canelo with a similar approach, or was he referring to what could actually be something new? We've seen Canelo smiling a lot during the lead up to this fight. We've seen him dancing, cracking jokes, and even letting motherfuckers know from out the gate that he was indeed ready. So a big question I have is, could Jermell Charlo end up being Canelo's Canelo? And here's what I mean by that. I don't want to confuse anybody because we all know there's only one Canelo, but I remember in 2013 when he was gearing up to face Floyd Mayweather, there was so much hype surrounding that fight. So many fans, including a couple experts and pros, thought Canelo was going to be the one to dethrone Mayweather. Then of course there were the majority of diehards and experts who already knew Canelo wasn't ready, Mayweather was going to school him, basically calling what should have been common sense at the time. I'm starting to see this matchup with Jermell Charlo show some similarities, pretty much because most assume Canelo's going to stop Jermell Charlo, but what if we see Canelo do the unthinkable and just embarrass Jermell, similar to the way Floyd did him? I mean, yeah, Canelo was undefeated at the time. Canelo was only 23, while Jermell does have one loss, a draw, and is exactly 2 months older than Canelo, both in their Jesus and Pippen year at age 33. So there's no similarity in losing a 0 or an age gap like the Mayweather bout. I'm just curious, because the expected outcome here is that Canelo stops Mel and the long shot will be Charlo pulling off the upset. But what happens if Mel rises to the occasion and is conditioned well enough to withstand what's supposed to be a beating? Uses the few advantages he does have only to have Canelo go into his own bag and surprise everyone. There's definitely a gap in experience, and everybody looks at Canelo as this juggernaut who just wants to knock guys out. But he's no stranger to displaying boxing skills on more than one occasion, like his fights with Austin Trout, Danny Jacobs, and the first Triple G fight. Yes, styles make fights, and realistically, based on everyone's expectations, this fight could mirror Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner, even with the infamous "I beat that boy" post-fight interview. But since everyone can picture Charlo getting laid out, right, and the due diligence, if you aren't a believer in Mel, would only be to entertain a possible upset. What happens if Canelo takes Jermell Charlo to school due to Mel's efforts, leaving him no choice? Yeah, I know Charlo has better footwork. Yes, I know Charlo is the taller, more athletic guy out of the two. But if anything, Canelo getting the job done and outboxing him in that type of fashion will only be that much more impressive. Just something to think about since we're all going to be watching a fight this Saturday. You could say the fight is a joke since it's a 154 pounder moving up to 168 all you want, but let's be real, bruh. The world will be watching and you will too. Pop off.